Edmen Shahbazyan versus Anthony Hernandez is the co-main event to this very actually underrated card that we have this weekend for the UFC Fight Night. We're going to break down the co-main event today, and like I said, Edmen Shahbazyan versus Anthony Hernandez. I'm going to give my thoughts, breakdown, and predictions down below, and I'd love to know what you think afterwards. We're going to talk about that fight in just a second. Before we get into it, I do want to say hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with too many YouTube channels. Let's talk about this fight. So I do want to start with the tale of the tape. So we have Edmen Shahbazyan here. We all know the story of Edmen Shahbazyan if you've been following MMA for a little while. He was that guy that came onto the scene, looked like he was potentially going to be the next big thing. As you can see, his last win was against Brad Tavares, but then Derek Brunson put a halt to everything because after Derek Brunson, it was downhill after downhill, and now we got a win, okay? And he looked okay in that fight, looked somewhat improved, but we found out that Edmen Shahbazyan has one big weakness, and we're going to talk about that weakness in a little bit. Point is, Edmen Shahbazyan is in one of those must-win situations. His record's looking very spotty in the UFC so far, but on the other side of the coin, you have Anthony Hernandez. Anthony Hernandez, besides his one loss to Kevin Holland, and I honestly think that's nothing to be ashamed of, and honestly, that's 3 years ago. I believe Anthony Hernandez has vastly improved since then. He picked up some amazing wins, not at quite the same level of Kevin Holland. I am one of the believers in Kevin Holland that he's not like a top caliber fighter, but losing to Kevin Holland, I don't believe brings you any shame whatsoever. But after that, Anthony Hernandez has been on an absolute tear. So you have one fighter in Anthony Hernandez here taking on Edmen Shahbazyan, who is not looking so great right here. But to go further down on the tail tape here, we have the odds as of right now, and honestly, I think they're pretty accurate. Anthony Hernandez is sitting at a minus 315 favorite. I am going to be betting on this fight. Long story short, Anthony Hernandez is going to be my pick to win, and I will explain why. But I'm going to have to find something else to parlay it because 315 is not good. You know what I mean? But we have Edmen Shahbazyan, very young, 25 years of age, and Anthony Hernandez just entering his prime now. And when you get into the height and reach, there's really nothing to talk about there. Edmen Shahbazyan is 2 inches taller, and Anthony Hernandez has a 1-inch reach advantage. And I don't really think that will matter at all. But when looking at these two and when they actually enter the octagon together, I think the game plan is going to be very simple. Edmen Shahbazyan is going to want to take his time to an extent, while Anthony Hernandez is a huge pressure fighter and will want to take down Edmen Shahbazyan and beat him up, perhaps catch a submission there. We probably know that's going to be the game plan because then the weakness I've been talking about is we found out with Edmen Shahbazyan's 3 losses, we found out that Edmen Shahbazyan, it's tough because he crumbles under pressure. He doesn't have the best gas tank, and he has a little bit of a weak ground game. Yes, again, he picked up a win and looked a little bit improved last time around, but then again, this isn't, I think it's just a bad matchup for him, man. I think it's a really bad matchup with Anthony Hernandez because he is one of those fighters. Everything that I just said to you, pressure, cardio, ground game, that's what Anthony Hernandez brings, and he's quite good at it. He's been really successful in doing so far. The fight's going to start. Anthony Hernandez is going to probably be in Edmen Shahbazyan's face unless Edmen, because you know what, he does have really, he's a good fighter. He's just missing a couple things, but those are really big things. You know what I mean? He could crack Anthony Hernandez on the way in, get some respect, make him back off a little bit. That is a serious possibility, especially because, again, Edmen Shahbazyan looks like he has a little bit of his confidence level back. And honestly, I'm a big believer in that stuff. I'm a big believer in momentum, but the problem is when you want to talk about momentum, man, Anthony Hernandez has got it. Long story short, I really see this fight just a one-sided beatdown by Anthony Hernandez. Like I said, I think he's going to go in there. I think he's going to take down Edmen Shahbazyan, and I think he's going to work. And Edmen Shahbazyan is going to pull a little bit of a Darren Till. He's going to get flattened out, as we've seen before. He's going to stick in there for a little bit, but then he's going to get beat up to a point where it's almost like there's no returning for him. You know what I mean? Edmen Shahbazyan, I really like him, and honestly, I'm going to be cheering for him in this fight. I want him to win. I want him to succeed. I want him to have that comeback story. But what I do see happening is eventually him getting flattened out, beaten up, and then he just doesn't have that dog in him that Anthony Hernandez does seem to have. Once you bring Edmen Shahbazyan to deep waters, we have seen him crumble in the past, and I don't have any reason to believe that won't happen again against a guy who's coming in Anthony Hernandez, who is an insane pressure fighter. Like I said, Edmen Shahbazyan is more than capable of winning fights in the UFC. He's not like washed or anything like that. I'm talking about him like he's on his way out. I'm just like, no, he's just lost 3 fights and then won 1. You know what I mean? This is just purely a bad matchup. Can Edmen Shahbazyan win against other fighters? Absolutely, and I might pick him to do so. I just hate this matchup for him. And there's not too much to break down for me because I don't see many other possibilities of this fight happening. I just believe this is going to get taken to the ground. Anthony Hernandez is going to do what Anthony Hernandez has been doing. And again, I myself I'm pretty confident in this. I'm going to be betting on this fight. Let me know what you think, guys, because usually I like to go back and forth, just like with my main event breakdown. I went back and forth for like 10 minutes or something like that. But I just don't see a lot going on in this fight. Does that make sense? Like, I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. I would imagine a lot of you would agree with me if you're watching this, but this is where I'll leave it up to you. Let me know what you think down below. Let me know, am I wrong? Am I too high on Anthony Hernandez? I know he hasn't necessarily proved himself to be a top caliber fighter. I just think it's a horrible matchup. But let me know what you guys think down below. Am I crazy? Let me know what your prediction is in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you want to see longer videos and predictions, will be on the screen for you right now if you want to watch more of the Clenbat channel, because the Clenbat channel is a great channel. Check out some more videos. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.